So, welcome everybody. We are almost reaching to the end of our second day of this online program. My name is Aletia Montero. I'm the chair of this online program and also an executive board member from Goals Future Studies Federation. So we are now at the 25th WFSF World Conference exploring liminalities, creating spaces for unlimited futures online program, Futures for Humanity, as part of the 15th World Future Studies Federation celebration. So now we are having Fabrice Teuguia, and he is going to talk about a proposed strategy for improving the information system. So, Fabrice, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Arieti. Thank you for the voice. I've started by greet everybody who is connected and then say good morning to everybody, first of all. Let me share my screen so that we will continue. Okay. So for this morning, I'll just discuss with all of you about a strategy to improve the information system. So my name is Fabrice Teuguia. So I'm coming from Cameroon, and then I'm working on Foresight since a moment. So the topic is really interesting for me because I'm coming from IT. I'm an IT engineer. So all the problem concerns the digital transformation is one of my topic in which I'm really, really, really concerned. So first of all, since 2008, the world have come through many, many, many crises, many problems. So we can notice the one of 2008 concerning the financial crisis, where you can notice again the terrorist attack. And when we are talking of terrorist attack, let me talk about Cameroon. We have the attack of Boko Haram in the north of Cameroon. We have also the cyber attack that is really, really, really matters for many countries in the world. And we cannot say many the difficulties without talking about COVID-19. You know, COVID-19 have made many damage in the world, many damage in the economy, many damage in many sectors of the industry. So many countries face slowdown on their growth. And talking about Cameroon, we have noticed that it went from 5.9 in 2014 to 4.5 in 2016, then 3.7 in 2017. So in the context of multiple crises, countries and companies around the world are facing more and more and more difficulties. At this moment, Chief of Information, let me talk about them because they are the ones who are leading the information system in many companies, also at the level of the country. Chief of Information must take appropriate measures to improve the efficiency of IT infrastructure. You know, when we talk about efficiency, it's not like we are talking about the information system have to work. We are talking about the CIO must help managers to make up for financial losses. So they have to advise the users, they have to ensure smooth functioning, they have to complete assistance, and they have to secure and protect the data of even at the level of the company, but at the level of the country also. Anyway, based on the result of several surveys and interviews, the CIO faced myriad of challenges to remain efficient. And today, many research have noticed some difficulties that CIO have found, that CIO have challenged while doing their work. So here is an example of the research done by Gardner, and we can really notice in this research that one of the most difficulties that they have found was the strategies and the decision making. We have noticed also the challenges of business culture and blocking change. Let me talk about a bit business culture and blocking change. People are not used to change because they have the habit, they have the way to do things. But now, when you are asking them, for example, to start with remote work, it's just like they will not have their private life, they will not have their private things to do, and they have to work every time. So to bring the end user to change this kind of mentality was not easy. And the other challenge that was very, very, very difficult for the CIO was the insufficient funding budget, because at the moment of this multiple crisis, the funding of the IT department was reduced. And it was reduced without reducing the charges, without reducing their obligation. So they have to continue the work with no more funding, no more budget. And at this moment, uh, you can believe me, it is not easy to successfully continue the work like it was before, because you have to maintain the computers, you have to maintain the system, you have to maintain, there are many things to do, and you don't have the budget to do it, to go through it. Digital transformation remains essential for a company to be competitive and also at the level of the country. But looking to the analysis of Olive, 70% of technology projects fail. It is so difficult to get right because there is disconnect in the process and there are poor documentation. There are many other challenges. We can say it. There are poor stakeholders engagement. There are limited vendor engagement, because the vendor also, they want to do their profit, and they are facing the same difficulties that at the level of the companies or the level of the country, the CIOI facing. So they are not also involved in going through the assistance of their customer, going through to be ready when the customer have a problem. They were open for remote assistance, and it is limited because with the remote assistant, there are some problems that cannot be fixed immediately. Let us continue with the challenge that contribute for the failing of the technology project. We have the change management. The manager changed the mind, like I've said before. Let us talk only about the reduce of the budget. This is a kind of change or changing idea, changing the mind of the management. Another things that contribute for the failures of technology project is poor communication and poor and bad strategic alignment. Now the question is how to improve the IT infrastructure so as to increase the performance of the structure. So at this level, we admitted that, okay, there are crises, there are many things that have to be done. Then how to win in the digital economy, how to win in the context of many things will contribute to the first of the project. But we have to go through to the project of digital transformation, how to manage it. So that's a question that we will try to answer in the next few minutes. So let us start by trying to make a small definition of IT infrastructure. According to Zukowski, your infrastructure encompasses the myriad of resources necessary to support a particular activity, whether metropolitan or corporate. So, according to National Center of Textual and Lexical Resources, an infrastructure is an essential support of basis for the construction, maintenance, or operation of a concrete abstract structure. The common point of these two definitions is that an infrastructure always has one purpose: to be the foundation for a system. So, for an infrastructure to be the foundation for a structure, first of all, we need to have a good idea of the initial situation. Secondly, we need to set up monitorings and to set up actions. Then we need to implement adjustment of material or intangible resources continuously in the various components. With the goal that our infrastructure have to provide the system with the ability to meet the requirements for an ever-changing organizational environment. So we admit that already that the environment is changing. Let us continue. What definition can we have for information technology? Look into this one dictionary. Information technology is the study of use of electronic equipment, especially computers, for storing, accessing, analyzing, and sending information. So after many research, and many research, have a little bit write about information technology. But the main idea is that information technology covers a vast area. So according to Wikipedia, the term is commonly used as a synonym as computers and computers network, but it also encompasses other information distribution technologies such as television and telephone. So several projects or services within an economy are associated with the information technology. When matching these two definitions, when matching these two ideas, we can say that an IT infrastructure designates the necessary base for the automatic processing for information within an organization. So there are many definitions that have been proposed, but for us, we can just say that. We can just take this one of Breyer and Al, all the technological and human component network system, and process that contributed to the functioning of the health information system. Why are we taking this information? Because with this definition, we can notice the important characteristic of an IT infrastructure. An IT infrastructure have to focus first of all on people, on the social and political environment, on the organization. When we are talking of organization, we start by the structure and the strategy that have to be put in place. Then the technology at the end of the list. Okay, this is an example of what we are saying. So when we are talking of people, when we're talking of social political environment, we're talking of organization and technology, what are we putting exactly in this term? In what did a CIO, what did the company have to focus exactly when you're talking of people? Let us see a bit. When you're talking of people in the term of IT infrastructure, we have first of all the manager. After the manager, we have the end user. After the end user, we have the administrator. The manager is the group made up of all the company decision makers. So they are those who give the go and the no-go. What about end user? End user are the group of people who own the solution and who are using the tool, who are using the infrastructure. They are the ones who are manipulating the data. They are the ones who are collecting the data. They are the ones who have the data and they're putting inside the system. So they are the ones who are using the tools. That's the end user. And the end user, they're not taking care of what is behind, what is that. just that they want the tools to be ready for the work that they have to do, and they just have to either put the information, either exploit the report. Okay, let's look then the last group of people that you still have to focus on is the administrator. The administrator is a resource in charge of configuring, maintaining, and supporting the end user for optimal use. Now, we have a little bit an idea of which kind of people are involved in an IT infrastructure. But let us notice that the manager is the one who have the go and the no-go. The end user is the one at the end, not at the end really. As you see, we are not put the end user at the end of the list, but the end user is one of the important group or important entities on the system, because they are the one who are deciding who are giving the value of your system. And the administrator is the one who is in charge of maintaining things working well or not. Okay, after talking of people, let us go a bit on social political environment. First of all, an organization performance improve because the environment in which the human factor, the person that you have listed before, are working together. And to do them working together, everybody inside the system have his own jobs, have his own thing to do. That's why the manager, the impact that the manager have in an information system is to identify the problems that he want to be solved. So they are the one who are deciding what to do exactly. They are the one who are deciding what is the direction of the system. So a CIO who is trying to put in who is trying to put in place the digital transformation, you have to work on in the idea that when he will talk to the manager, he will just talk to them like, that's the problem to solve. And that's the impact that the problem have in our system. So when you present the things to them like that, it will be easy for them to take the decision. Then let's talk a bit of end user in this environment, this climate and social environment. The end user for the CIO is the person who is using the tools. So the way to speak with them about the system is to make them wanted to go through to use the system. So you have to show them that what you want to put in place don't need too much competences. Their competences is okay for what you are doing, for what we want to do. Then you have to present to them the business process so that everybody will see his place. Then you have to be honest with them. So first of all, identification and classification of the risk so that you can say them, when you are using it, be careful about that, be careful about that, be careful about that. Don't do that, but you have the right to do that. So when the things are clear like that, the end user could go with you to help you to improve what you want to put in place. Then on, the administrator, they are the one who are challenging when you're talking of climate and social impact for system information. they are the ones who are challenging the most because they have to have many competencies, and it's not only technical competencies, but it's also social competencies because they are the one who are supposed to support the end user and the manager in the system that you want to put in place. They are the one who are in touch with the end user, so they have to master the business process. It means that when they will be with a person of the human resource, they know what to do with him. When they will be with the person in the factory, they know what to do, what to discuss with him, they know what to show to him. When they will be with the person of the logistic, they will know also what they are used to do with him, what this person have to know and what he don't have to know. So they have to master the business process. And like I said, for the end user, they have to know exactly what are the risks when using the system for all the person engaged in the business, for all the stakeholders. Then let us go with another. We are talking about organization in an informational system in an IT infrastructure. When we're talking about organization, the CIO have also a big challenge there. The way the CIO have to present the organization to the manager could not be the same for the end user and for the administrator. So, like we said, for the manager, they are the one who are giving the go and the no-go. So, when you want to present how the system is organized, what is the strategy that you have to put in place the system, you will start by present the impact of each action. And if you want to successfully present a good impact, you have to, first of all, think about the different steps from the beginning to the end and their indicators. So that when you will talk with the manager, you will say to them that for the first step, you have to do that, that, that. And that is the indicator, and that is the impact that the system will have. And they will see their interest on go through what you want to put in place or not go. Then let's talk about the end user, about organization. For the end user, it's also not to just go through technical or technology to put in place, no. But it's to present the improvement to put in place and their impact for their works, so that when you're talking to a logistic person, a logistic resource, you have to see what you are going. You have to see what he have to what he will get in what you want to put in place in terms of his needs, in terms of what he's waiting for the system. And for the administrators, it's the same thing. But like we said, the administrators have to go more on what it's concerning their work because they are supporting the end user. So they have to know exactly what is necessary for them and what is necessary for the other stakeholders of the system. Then we are talking also about we have also the fourth category, that is the fourth category that is, let me, oh yeah. We also have the fourth category. I'm not seeing well. I'll check it. Why is not going? Okay, that is the technology. Talking about technology, for the managers, we have to present the specification of tools that we want to put in place so that they will know if it is a need of new acquisition or not. That is what is interesting for the manager. They have to know what are the acquisitions that have to be done, and what are the tools that have to be repaired, and what are the tools that we will just reuse, so that everything will be clear in their mind. When you're talking of technology for the end user have to know, okay, I'm used to use that thing, that thing, that thing. What is new for me? What did I have to know? Have I a formation, have I a certification to get to use the new tools or not? So they have to know, you have to prove to them that what you are bringing is something that is available for them, as in terms of something to pay, or in terms of something to acquire, or in terms of a new acquisition to be done for them, or something that the company will bring to them. So just to explain them exactly what are the new tools that they will use, and to present it to them like it's something that will be benefits for them, for their work, and they will be most useful for the company with it. For the administrator, is the same thing, but for the administrator, what is new to them is that they have to take in consideration that maybe they will need some certification, because when you are talking of tools, sometimes you need to have the accreditation to use them or not, or the dash 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 dash. But for the administrator, it's better like they are the one who hold the system, so they have to know exactly what's necessary for all the end user, like we used to say. Then the end one is the borders. The borders is one important thing when you're talking of put in place an, a digital transformation project, because everybody is listening advertisement, is listening news, is listening information coming from that A and B. Everybody is listening about that. And the manager, they're the one who have the decision of go and no go. So when you are working to put in place a strategy of digital transformation, you first of all think of eliminating the toxic information. You first of all think of create the borders for the different steps that you will present to the manager. You will think also about build a strategy, and at each step you have to see what is the budget that is needed for this step to go to from the beginning to the end successfully. Then, with good indicators, you can show the impact, and you can even trying to present the result that you're expecting. So for the manager, if the toxic information are eliminated, the border are clear, the budget is clear, the result and the impact is clear, you could be sure that it will be easy for them to give you an answer. For the end user, when you're talking about border, it's concerned also toxic information, because everybody is listening news. Everybody is listening what is needed, the experience of the others. So you have to work like you will eliminate the toxic information. For the end user also, you have to present the budget element concerning their work, the opportunity and trends that they have with what you are coming as digital transformation that you want to put in place. and the result and the expected impact, not for all the system, but for their work, for what the company is waiting for them. So they have to be they will be engaged if everybody see what I'm taking, what have like benefits with that thing, with that new thing. So when you're talking about also concerning the administrator, it's the same thing like the end user, but for the end user, for the administrator, the view is very large because they are the one who are supporting the end user at each level of the work. And all the end user that are engaged, that will work with the system that you are putting in place, they have to know, the administrator have to know what is the limit of everybody, of all the stakeholders that will take part of the system. Then to conclude, let me show you an example. And this example concerns a printer solution, a shared printer solution. I've tried to do it in the level of a country, at the level of a country. That's a project that I've put in place at the level of the country. And I've put it in place in Cameroon, in all the region and all the subdivision of the country. So it was like in around 60 units that have where I've put in place a sharing printing system. So when I'm talking of speaking with the manager of when I'm talking of speaking with the manager of the strategy that I was trying to put in place, one of my arguments was the decrease of the electricity cost. The decrease of the number of print paper and the evolution of interruption services. When I was talking of them, like what I want to put in place as an organization, it will help us to improve our performance, to improve our indicators, because now if I'm not in the office, I am able to print even where I am. If somebody have the information and I have it, I'm able to print and they will continue the work. So this is kind of language that I was using with them. Then talking about technology, what I've done is the presentation of the specification of tools that we were needed for the successful to put in place the system. So we will start by what was in place and what we have to what are the acquisitions that we will do. Then because I'm talking about acquisition, I have to explain the choice of the identified acquisition. I have to explain the borders of the different steps. I have to explain the budget and the result and the expected impact over 1 year, over 2 years, over 3 years, so that after doing that, the managers are the one that was, hey, Fabrice, when are you putting in place the team? Because they have seen their benefit on the team. They have seen that if we have a sharing printing system, the company will make some benefits as inks to pay, as electricity bill, as papers, as many small things like that. And when it comes to, well, I'm talking about 60 seats, 16 places, 16 office. So when it comes to the level of national, when you come to the national level, you see how it was benefits for the company to have the sharing printing system. Then for the end user, the first thing that I was trying to discuss with them was that, no, don't bother. No special skills need to go through this thing. No special thing needs to reduce the interruption of the services. I've explained them the work will be improved with what I'm trying to put in place. They will have secure printing training, and the volume of the work will a little bit reduced because everything will be a bit clear for them and the thing will be a bit easy. And when I started to discuss with them about the technology that we have to put in place, it was just like, hey, guy, don't bother. Many things are there. It's not like I'm coming with something that you don't know to use. Is the network that you are using since? Is the printer that you are using since? Even if I have to make an acquisition, it's just an evolution of what you are using.
You have to wrap up now. You have to wrap up now. You're way over.
Oh, okay.
Wrap up.
Okay. So it was just like that, and then when then concerning the borders, it was just like, okay, for the end user, it was to explain why I'm taking it, what was the benefits for them, the skills that they will have, and the result and expected impact that the sharing system will bring to their work. And for the administrator, it was a little bit easy because with them, they have taken part of the project, and we have worked on like put in place a single model so that it will be easy for them to have spare parts, to have the maintenance of the materials, to improve in terms of disaster recovery, in terms of quality monitoring. So for them, it was just helping them to master what we are doing, what we want to do in terms of technology.
All right, so let's get some questions in. I see somebody in the chat has said that they think your presentation is spot on. And Michael Jackson is saying that he's a digital equivalent of what you're presenting if you're interested, and you can reach him. I'm not sure if you saw his message. Michael, do you have any? And you'd also like to test your waste reduction example. He's also asking for a copy of your presentation. So please be sure to look in your chat and take down Mike's email. It's mike@preempt.life. And see, Mike, do you have any questions? Anybody else on the call has any other questions that you want to ask Fabrice?
Okay. I'm not seeing the question of Mike, but okay, I'm struggling to. Anyway, can you say the question again, because I'm not getting.
He's basically saying that he wants you to first of all, he'd like a copy of your presentation. That's number one. He's saying
that's not the problem.
Your presentation is good, struck on, and he has put an email. It says Mike, M-I-K-E. I want to write it down if you're not seeing it. Mike at preempt, PREEMPT.life. And that's his email address. And that he has a digital equivalent of what you are presenting, if you're interested in it. So, but he'd definitely like to be in touch with you so he can test your waste reduction example. So it's not so much of a question as to say he'd love to speak with you some more, right? Mike, thank you. This is Dr. Claire Nelson calling. I took over from Alethea, and he has no question in the interest of time. So Fabrice, I take it, I came in late, so I'm assuming that you were talking about energy storage from the internet systems. I have no idea. I came in quite late, but I'm assuming that's what you were talking about, how to save energy in dealing with the internet, using energy in the internet. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
No, it's okay, Claire.
Yeah, thank you. So folks, I am supposed to actually be doing a session now falling through. So if you'd like to stop sharing, Fabrice, I'll just go straight to my session, which is well, it's already very late. I'll just try and wrap it up in 15 to 20 minutes. My session is about storytelling. And really, if I was to ask you, Fabrice, what is the value of what you're doing, your work? What is the future you fear? Why this work you're doing is important to you?
Okay, this work is important because, like I've said before, like you see, it's not me who is talking about, but the statistics are proving that many digital transformation projects fail. And that because...
Wait. If you could take down your screen, first of all, could you take your screen down? Stop sharing.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to the screen.
What did you say fail? So what is it that you're trying to say? How to improve technology projects fail? And so what?
Okay, so that's what some who are doing the research on this have like result. 70% of technology projects fail.
And then why is that a problem? We're looking at 2050. So from a futures perspective, right? If you could stop sharing, so I could just get a better thing. So we're talking about, my story is, how do we look at the future that we are trying to construct? In your case, you're talking about a technology problem. I'm not sure if in the future software will be designed the same way it's designed now. I'm assuming software in the future will be designed by other software. So if that's the case, how does your solution address the future you fear that they're failing? If you stop sharing.
Okay, let me, I will not be long about it, because if I want to talk, like, I will be long. So I'll just go straight to the point, right? Okay, so the future that I'm thinking about digital transformation is about the way to put in place it, because the tools, and in terms of tools, in terms of technology, there are many things that are available. But where the problem is coming is in terms of strategy that we are used to. So that is where to improve. For the future we have to learn when you are in school, for all of the engineer, how to put in place. We have to create new models, because the models that we are learning is an old model. So to know how to update to that, no, that's an old model. We first of all start to learn how to put in place the new models, coming from the strategy and coming from taking in consideration all the level, all the people who are engaged in the things. We have some models like the Agile model, the PMP, but today, looking the difficulty that we have, these models are not successfully helping the decision maker. So we have to find new model so that many projects will not fail. So I'm just trying to propose
but what I am saying is that if my session is about talking about 2050, I am saying, if I am taking you into 2050, right? And you're talking about a process of IT design and failure rate, are you saying that in 2050, the process by which software and technology is tested is probably going to be software testing software? So if software is testing software, what is the future that you're fearing? Why is it so bad that in the future 70% fails? Or what would you like to see by 2050? So if we're to create a story based around your scenario, your problem, I am talking about, my session now talks about space futures and constructing stories around what is the future you fear or what is the future you want, right? So if it is that you're saying this process that you're proposing, will this process you're proposing now be such that it will enable you by 2030, by 2040, by 2050 to have a reduced failure rate, if that's the problem you're trying to solve? Is that what you're saying? And Michael Jackson had said he'd like to have help, direct the question. So, Michael, you have the floor. I think I allowed you to speak.
Thank you. Hi, Fabrice. Hi, Alethea.
Hi, Michael.
I think you're talking at cross purposes, both of you. So, Fabrice, you need to understand your session is finished, okay? Your session is finished. And Alethea's session started about 5 or 10 minutes ago, and maybe it should have started 20 minutes ago, okay? So,
right, it is clear.
Alethea,
it is
Alethea,
clear. It is clear.
Alethea.
It's
Fabrice
clear.
is talking. It's good.
It is clear.
Fabrice, okay, good.
Yeah.
Fabrice is talking about a problem now. Okay.
Right.
He's talking about how you get change in an organization when there isn't the future and people are trying to do their jobs and you're trying to ask them to change and alert people in the higher ups, alert them to the change so that they can make improvements. He wasn't talking about 2050. Right. Fabrice, Alethea is asking you a different question now. Forget what you presented. She's asking you a question about if you had hopes and fears for 2050, what would they be around what you presented? Different question.
Okay.
What would your hopes and fears be? One of them would be, as she just said, you won't need this process anymore because software will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be your hopes and fears for what you just presented is what she's asking you. If it was 2050, imagine you're now 25 years older.
Okay, I think if we are in 2050, the process anyway, we will have with the artificial intelligence, there will be many deep learning that will be put in place they will learn how the system are working, and they will help the decision maker to easily find a way to have a good information system. So I think with the artificial intelligence, many things will be done in 2050. So it will be now on how to use this artificial intelligence that the question will be.
So
right, well, I would answer that slightly differently. I would say that what you're doing right now, part of the process for moving forward be not just to fix the problem in the way that things have been done in the past, but to use the future so that they never occur again. They never occur again. That's Alethea's point. So the solution has to be one that says, how could we use technology to remove these issues forever? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the hope would be that by 2050, there are none of these issues, right? For me, the fear would be that no one will have jobs.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's take that because AI futures and human futures are very close to intellect. Earlier today, when I did a session, somebody raised that issue as one of the fears that they have around 2050, that robots are going to be ubiquitous and people basically will have less to do. But the question is that somebody has to program the robots. And even if robots are programming other robots, somebody has to program the master robot. It is a machine after all. So how do we anticipate a future in which we really have made humans redundant completely? Or in terms of and then let's bring into being now the cybersecurity angle, or could another fear be that because robots and AI are everywhere, we have to use so much more of our time in programming against nefarious uses of these systems, because cybersecurity is a never-ending emerging space, because as fast as you design something, somebody cracks it.
I think the worst is not that we will not use people, but is how the people will be used to help the system to increase. That's what the question will be.
All right.
Because
So Fabrice, if you were to now take your ideas, because my job is to help you tell the story of what you're trying to talk about, so people
Right.
can get it and it can mean. So if we're talking about 2050, one of the first things I ask people to do is to look at the future, either the future they fear or the future they want, depending on which is more clear to them. For some people, it's easier to define a fear than to define a desire, right?
yeah.
So let's say, do you have a future that you fear that's very strong?
Yeah.
What is it?
The future, it's very strong because the future that I feel is the one where we are using the technology to improve on what we are doing in all the domain of the life.
So why is that a fear?
The fear is that the use of the digital trace which are behind. Because if you are using technology, it's true that with the capacity of technology to store the data, there could be bad use of all the data that people are leaving behind.
Okay. So ill use of data because we have moved everything on it. So that's a future you fear. Okay. So if we're talking about 2050 and a negative headline, if you had to use a negative headline, that could be something like, okay, the data terrorists, I'm making this up now, data terrorists hold global financial architecture for ransom, right?
Yeah, right.
So mind you, don't know where they're going to go because by that time we'll be on the moon, on Mars, and on Earth. But let's say they hold people for ransom because they want to get somebody out of prison. I'm just making this up. They want to get their guy out of prison, and so they hold these banks up for ransom. So that is a potential story, right? It's plausible, first of all.
Yeah, it's plausible.
Good. Now, so let's say then that the international cyber risk insurance people, whoever they are, they have some version of that. That's not the right name of the company, but there's a company, there's an international organization that does that currently exists. And they're busy today meeting all around the world trying to craft protocols and rules and regulations so that financial systems can be around the world, can be properly mobilized. Now, this is very important for countries like Africa, because we have a lot of Africans who are on the margins, as you well know, who have moved directly from being unbanked to being banked.
To being banked, yeah.
Right? So for me now, so that's a signal. So that's one of the signals, and we can assume that the driver in this, or the trend, is that more of the unbanked are going to become banked through mobile, right?
Right.
So let's say that more people are becoming unbanked, but the cybersecurity systems in Africa are not keeping up with that process. So the potentiality of your fear coming to pass is very high now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there you have a story that says, okay, this is the future I fear. These are some signals and drivers that make my fear a logical one, if it was, because you could kind of project from this current signal that you already know that companies have been held for ransomware and all this stuff in developing countries much more frequently than in developed ones. And then you know you're going to get here. So now, let's say you as the designer, you really want to get to not the future you fear, but the future you want, which is you want to have proper protocols, proper systems, proper technology that can monitor this. You now have to write a story that says, okay, I'm at 2023, and in 25 years, a series of things are going to happen in technology, right? That's one system. In regulations and policy, because technology and regulation and policy go together. So it's one thing to have the technology, it's quite another to have the global policy and regulatory architecture that goes along with this. And the other pieces that come together to form the ecosystem of that future you want. So what I ask people like you to do is think about the thing you want to change as a part of a system and look at all the different things that butt upon what you're doing. So that you are saying, I'm a software guy, right? But
Right.
the hardware impinges on what will happen in my software. Policy and rules impinge on that. How people are trained, which is your issue, impinge on that. And as you know, the technology itself is rapidly changing. And they're saying by the next 10 years, you're going to have 6G, probably, and you're also going to have quantum computing as well. Great. Now you have to craft a story that says, given all of these trends, how am I going to get to a safe, just, equitable space and storyline that says something like data terrorists foiled, right, by some software / hardware, something that's designed by something or some companies or some protocols that are constantly watching. So let's say we have something called a sentry or a guardian. I'm just making up. Global guardian. Global guardian is some system of interlocking software that can patrol the perimeters of all the global financial institutions to protect it at all times. Such a global system would need perhaps people and organizational and laws that allow that information to be shared within the context of privacy. So it becomes very complex. But still, if one assumes that by 2050, we are not going to retreat to several different non-transferable currencies. So whether or not we have the dollar as a supreme currency, or we now have BRICS, and they have new currencies and new combinations, so Russian currency, all these things that are happening right now, we're going to have some way of these currencies being exchanged so trade can happen, right? We can assume that despite all of what it seems is madness right now, we still will have to move people and goods around the world, because not everybody will be able to make their own car, grow their own food, make their own clothes. We're going to still have to move goods and services around the world. Is it going to be crypto? Will there be cash? All these things will come into your storyline that you are creating, because if you're going to make a very rich story for your client, let's say you are now servicing a client in the IT world and helping them think through what might they do now to prepare for the future, you have to begin to think about the future that they might want as a financial institution and how they would get there. So what are the 5 rules? 1, always think of your thing as being a part of a system and look for potential, let's say, antagonists, or I would say antagonists like people who are against you, or assistants, people who are with you, are going with you in the same direction, because it makes your scenario, your story richer. 2, you have to look for what will be success for you in that future. So success for you would be in your little story that you are creating, which we are creating together, would be like, okay, the attacks are still happening. You can't stop people from trying to attack, but you can foil those attacks, right? You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. You have also taken account of, along the way, the people who you start off with today, the people that you might be working with today to kind of begin to think through this, may drop off. And by 5 years from now, if you're still on this storyline, you might have new people in your story, either as antagonists or assistants, right? Because this is how life is. So on each step that you want to put a marker down, let's say, for example, you're going to put a marker down for the day when quantum computing becomes real and everything changes again, right? Or you put a marker down for when X6G hits and everything changes again. By the time we get to 2050, it's a completely different world. But for the sake of argument, you have got to prepare some plausible story about how we survive and thrive along the let's call it the valley of the shadow of death to that future. So in your R, my smart storytelling is your resilience question. How do you come back after being damaged along the way? Because you want to make your story again rich. Nobody has a perfect life. Nothing ever, goes smoothly that I know of anyway. You want to write into the story a couple incidents that you're able to come back from.
Mhm.
And obviously in T, you're talking about technology itself. So the technology that you're using along the way will help you. So it's a kind of, and I'm giving some little tips and pointers as to how you can use today's signals, today's drivers of change, and your desired future or the future you fear to create the conditions for storytelling, moving from just the dry scenarios that you typically may write in the past and to enrich them with personality. So your personalities are going to be who is being affected. Is it the banking association? Is it the ministers of finance? Is it an ordinary person? You will decide what perspective to tell the story from, but you always want to give the story world some personality, some people with whom the people that are hearing your story can empathize. So you bring out the empathy of that relationship of your story. You understand?
I'm getting.
Right.
Yeah, let me just say to both of you, because I now realize I can help both of you. I have digitized what you just said, Alethea. So I won't do my presentation now because it's tomorrow, but I hope you both come because you'll learn a lot, I think. You can write a story about the future automatically on our system. It does have a personal, you can choose a person, choose a country, choose a year, etc., write your story. And after you've written the story, the robot will write the same story, but from its perspective. So the AI will write another person's view of the same thing that you wrote about. It'll also then be able to tell you what your positive and negative traits are. And it will then be able to say, with these positive traits, you should be trying to do these things in your life. And with these negative traits, you should try to reduce those, right? So it's helping people to actually develop themselves in a successful way. Exactly what Alethea said. Now, if I go back to what you said, Fabrice, the one thing that I spotted in what you did there, and I used to do it your way, but you are assuming the manager knows what the problem is. And the manager chooses the problem and then the people respond. I actually think that's not a good idea. And in 1995, Prahalad and Hamill wrote a great book in which they said, you should ask people, how will the future be different? Not solve a problem. How will the future be different for them? And then ask them, what do they hope for? What are their fears, which we just did? And how do they overcome them? And at the time, I did that for my 2,500 people. And the people said the internet is going to be big in 1995. And my management team said, what's the internet, including me? But now we knew it, we could move forward much faster than the rest of the competition. So I would argue with you that don't ask people about problems because you're actually defining what the problem is when it may be the wrong problem. Ask them what the future holds for them and how you could change the company so it's better for them. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good what you've got, but you make it better. And that then fits much better with what Alethea just said. Yeah, then the two of you would be on the same wavelength. Yeah. Only a small change in what you do there is how you ask the question is important. Ask them about a problem and they'll give you an answer to a problem that maybe not a problem. Ask them about how the future will be different and how to solve it. They'll give you fantastic answers like, we should be doing the internet before the rest of our competitors. It's amazing. And do you know where that came from? It came from our mailroom. It came from our lowest paid workers who had already started using the internet before the rest of the company. Unbelievable. I learned so much from that exercise. Yeah.
That is true. And I mean, everybody is using ChatGPT now. In fact, one of the issues that come up is that what should students be learning in school if everything is being taught to them through the internet, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I think that if it is that even if you can't even write your own story, that's a problem. If you can't even have the joy of making up something totally fantastic, the machine outdoing you, we really are going to be in serious emotional and mental stress. And the future doesn't look so bright after all. So I don't know. I think that perhaps one of the questions we have to ask ourselves as a human, what will it mean to be human in 2050? That's a huge question. And I'm hoping some of you on this call will write some essays on this and send it to us at Human Futures. But it's 12:08 on this part of the world. I think Michael and them are in the other part of the world in the PM. Is anybody scheduled to speak now? I don't think so. Not on my thing anyway. Let me see. I think there's nobody else scheduled to speak at this point in time, if I am correct on the program. Right. So any other questions from everybody?
Whoever said that, you're quite right. Problems get directed in the wrong direction, but open questions open up really fantastic things. And so just going on from there, Alethea, after I said, Pralahad and Hamill said, I bet when you go off and do strategy, the seven of you go off to a golf club somewhere and spend a few days thinking about strategy, and you spend most of your time thinking about the weaknesses of the organization and not thinking outside what's happening outside. I thought, yeah, that's right. It's really a problem. I don't know how to get my managers to think outside the box. So it said, rather than hire a consultant, why don't you ask your staff what the future holds? And I was quite nervous about that. It said, I bet you don't think you're going to get any good answers. But if you don't get any good answers, it's your fault. You are the chief executive. You should be encouraging your people to think about the future. I thought, wow, that's a good idea. It said, but if you get no answers back, you know that you've been a poor chief executive up to now, but you now can fix it. But you only need one good idea, which of course I got the internet out of that. I got many more, but the internet was fantastic. If you get one good idea out of that, it's cheaper than paying a consultant, right? So I did that. I only asked my managers, not the 2,500 staff. I asked my managers, I said, it's anonymous. I'm not going to ask you to tell me who you are, but I would like you to respond to two questions. How will the future be different? What should we do about it? Now, it's a bit more complicated now, but it's still only the two main questions. I got 400, I did say to them, it's anonymous, but you can ask your staff if you want to. I got 400 replies back from 70 managers, and only 2 managers didn't respond. And they both came to tell me they weren't responding. And I said, look, I'm really disappointed, particularly in one of you, because you're the telecommunications manager. And at the time, that was a really big changing area. He said, yeah, but I'm retiring. I'm not interested. Okay. And the other one said, I don't think I can contribute. And I said, well, I'm not going to fire you. Thank you for telling me. It gives me an impression that people trust me enough that they'll come and tell me. But I've got 68 replies from you, and I've got 400 replies in the company. We went through the cards. They were postcards at the time. Now they're digital. We went through the cards, and the internet came up, and one of the executives said, he threw it away. And somebody said, why have you thrown that card away? He said, it's nothing to do with us. And the other guy said, that's really rude. You said, somebody's bothered to send the card in. We ought to know who sent it and what was it. And he said, no, it's nothing to do with us. In the end, I had to part them and say, look, read the card out. It's going to take us 30 seconds to read the card instead of 5 minutes arguing about whether we should read the card or not. So he reluctantly read the card and he said, the internet is going to be big. See, I told you it's nothing. And he went to throw it away again. And I said, the book says we're looking for the thing we don't know about. That's what the book says we should be doing. What don't we know about? Yeah, not which problems we have today. What don't we know about tomorrow? That's the point. And when we brought it back and I asked everybody whether they knew, no one knew, including my fantastic IT director. He'd never heard of the internet. So then we went and found out it was the mailroom. And we went down and had a meeting in the mailroom and asked the guys what that was about. And they said, we are on AOL at CompuServe. We're friends after work and we spend our time sending messages between our houses. Why are you telling us? We're telling you because we think that this is the way that you can avoid putting more branches in Britain, because we don't think branches will survive any longer. What an insightful comment in 1995, because that's what exactly is happening now. They knew more about future than we did. And then the second thing, which was really telling, I said, why are you telling us in another reason? Because it's our families. We worry about the fact there'll be no mailrooms, and we want to be still working and looking after our families. I thought that was a great comment. So we had the two of them present the internet to the 70 managers at the strategy meeting, and they were sitting on stage passing messages backwards and forwards between their PCs. And I learned then how much memory and how much thought I was wasting in the 2,500 people. And so I turned it around completely. I made it a reward-based process. Everybody was allowed to send in a card whenever they liked. And when they sent one in, they got another one so that they could send them in all the time. So I like what you're doing, because that's where I started. But you've got to get away from thinking about problems that you think are there to the ones that are problems that are coming, because they may solve the problem that you're trying to solve right now, but they'll also then give you the answers to how you can solve more problems in the future. That's the only thing I think is wrong with the way you're doing the questioning. That what you're trying to do is to look at the various levels. That's to be commended. It's just the focus. That's all. Yeah.
So another is saying, what will be different opens the mind for possibility, a more creative approach, and problem talk closes thinking. I quite agree. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much.
You're welcome
for joining us. It's been a really great conversation. I think we're done for today. I was the last presenter. My story was basically, I didn't finish the story, but I gave you the framework for writing your story, Fabrice. I hope you do write your story and send it in 2050. We're looking for a special edition for Human Futures, Life in 2050. And I'd love for you to see if you can pull something together on how the future you fear doesn't happen.
Can you contact me, Alethea? Because I'd like to write a story, but I'd like the robot to do its one too. So maybe that would be quite different for what you're looking at. But I'm happy to do it.
Well, this is not Alethea, Michael. This is Claire. So,
oh, hello, Claire. Oh, I know who you. I thought I recognised you. Why does it say Alethea at the bottom?
I don't know why it should say that.
I know you. I know where you are. I was going to ask where you come from. I should have known, shouldn't I? Hello, Claire. I do know you. I just because it says Alethea, I thought you must be a double.
No, it's just she dropped off and I took over. So yes, I can send you a mail. We're looking for. We want at the end of this conference to come away with our December edition talking about life in 2050. That will be a special focus. So I look forward to hearing from you. And if you want me, earlier I did a climate story based on who was in the room, right? Maybe we can
send me an email and I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I send. Well, you want to do one and then I respond, or vice versa. We can have two opposing stories.
Just remind me at the moment, because I've got so many things on at the moment. But
yes,
if you send me an email and remind me and tell me what you want, I'll do it for you.
Prompts. Perfect. I'll do that.
Good.
Thank you so much. All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Tradu, Carolyn Halton, Aki, Rosa Tricky. Thank you so much for joining us and being with us. And I look forward to some of you joining us tomorrow. And wherever in the world you are, have a great rest of your day or rest of your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.